The laughter hadn't finished landing when I felt the table tilt. "Just a pyramid scheme," my mother said, fork midair, cranberry sauce trembling like it wanted to escape. "Honestly, embarrassing," my aunt snorted. My cousin chimed in. Even my ex, still invited because my mother hated scenes, smiled into his wine. I watched the room decide who I was for me. I stayed quiet. I always did at the start. That's how you survive long enough to win. I'd learned that lesson years earlier, when trust still felt safe and dinners still meant warmth instead of theater. Back when my mother would call me her miracle child, when my ex held my hand in public and whispered plans like they were vows. I built things then, slowly, methodically, while they applauded the idea of me, not the work. They loved the dream of success. They hated the discipline required to earn it. The first betrayal didn't arrive with fireworks. It came in patterns, missed calls, a shared credit card balance that didn't make sense, my mother forwarding concerned articles about scams, CCing my ex asking questions that weren't curiosity, just inventory. I noticed how often he asked about cash flow, about liquidity, about exit strategies. I noticed how my mother's encouragement sharpened into ridicule the moment I stopped explaining myself. I didn't confront them. I audited them. I pulled statements. I tracked conversations. I read the room like a hostile board meeting. And then I understood. They didn't think I was incompetent. They thought I was temporary, something to siphon from before the collapse they were certain was coming. That's when the hurt turned cold, useful. I didn't cry. I planned. I separated accounts quietly, moved vendors, renegotiated contracts under my own name, filed paperwork that took patience and foresight. I let my ex think he was still consulted while I removed his access one permission at a time. I let my mother believe her doubts were shaping me, when really they were documenting her bias. I built a record. Clean, boring, impenetrable. By the time Thanksgiving arrived, the company had cleared $4 million in retained earnings. Not hype, not projections, cash, the kind that doesn't ask permission to exist. I said nothing as the turkey was carved. I smiled when the jokes landed. I even nodded when my ex squeezed my knee under the table, a gesture that used to mean partnership and now just meant trespassing. Then the doorbell rang. Dessert timing. My mother frowned. She hated surprises she didn't control. When she opened the door, her posture changed. Polite, performative, respectful. It was her bank manager, a man I'd met twice, once in silence, once in signatures. "Oh," she said, flustered. "This is unexpected." He smiled like someone who already knew the ending. "I was in the neighborhood. Thought I'd drop off the paperwork." He didn't sit. He stood at the head of the table like he belonged there. "First," he said, glancing at me, "I wanted to congratulate your daughter. Her business account is exceptional. $4 million in assets. Pristine risk profile." The room inhaled. Hard. My mother's face drained of color. My ex's hand retreated from my knee like it had been burned. Then the turn of the knife. "As for you," he continued, flipping a folder closed, "we're actually declining your loan application. Risk assessment didn't clear." Silence landed heavier than any insult. My mother opened her mouth, closed it, looked at me like I'd switched languages mid-sentence. I didn't gloat. I didn't explain. I simply met her eyes and let the math do the work. Later, when plates were cleared and the room fractured into whispers, my ex cornered me by the sink. His voice dropped into that tone he used when he wanted something. "You didn't tell me," he said. "I didn't owe you," I replied. He searched my face for the woman he used to manage. He didn't find her. My mother didn't speak to me that night, or the next. When she finally called, weeks later, her voice was careful, measured, like someone speaking to a stranger with leverage. I declined to help, calmly, professionally. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just changes the terms. I think about that night now, not with anger, but with clarity. Betrayal taught me the value of silence, of patience, of letting people underestimate you long enough to step into their blind spot. I didn't take revenge to hurt them. I took it to end the story on my terms.